Hello, my friends. Are you hitting a brick wall with your New England ancestors who lived before 1900? It's a familiar story. You've searched all the big genealogy sites, but the trail just goes cold. You see names pop up in other people's family trees, but there are no sources, no proof, and no way to know if they're actually your people. And that brick wall feels solid, maybe even centuries thick, and just about impossible to break through. A lot of people assume that those early records are just lost to time, gone forever in a courthouse fire, eaten by bugs, or maybe they were never even written down. Honestly, believing that is one of the biggest mistakes you can make in American genealogy. The records aren't gone. They're just not where you've been looking. And if you're only relying on the big paid websites for this kind of specific research, you're almost guaranteed to stay stuck and fail. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact types of documents and the strategy you need to find those supposedly lost family records and finally uncover your New England family's hidden history. So why does it feel like our New England ancestors just vanish into thin air? The challenge with research before the year 1900, especially back in the colonial era, is all about jurisdiction and format. And before states started centralizing records, everything was intensely local. This means the document you need isn't sitting in some massive state database. It's more likely tucked away in a town clerk's vault or a church's dusty old ledger. The problem isn't that the records don't exist, it's that they're scattered, inconsistent, and not indexed in the neat and tidy way we expect today. Sure, fires and floods happen, but you'd be surprised how many original documents actually survived. The trick is to stop thinking like a 21st century researcher and start thinking like someone who lived in a 17th or 18th century town. It takes a new approach that goes way beyond just typing a name into a search bar. So today, on Trace Your New England Roots, we're going to build that new approach. I'll give you the 5 key document groups that will become your new map for breaking down those New England brick walls. Five resources. Number 1, vital records. The first and most important shift in your strategy is to understand this. In colonial New England, life revolved around the town, not the county or the state. So the most important records, the births, the records, and the deaths, were all kept at the town level. If you're searching a statewide database for an ancestor who lived in, say Springfield, Massachusetts in 1750, you'll probably come up empty. But the records for the town of Springfield itself, they may very well be there. For most of the colonial period, the town clerk was the one recording these vital events. These weren't the standardized certificates we have today, and they were just simple entries in a big book. An entry might say something like, John, son of Samuel and Mary Smith, born April 10th, 1725. Or a marriage record might just note, Ebenezer Jones and Sarah Clark were joined in matrimony on the 5th of May, 1742. These simple sentences are genealogical gold. So how do you find them? Well, first you have to identify the exact town where your ancestor lived. Boundaries changed all the time, so a place that's in one county today might have been in a totally different county 200 years ago. So historical maps and gazetteers are used to pinpoint the right town for the right time period. And once you have the town name, that's when the hunt begins. Many of these town record books have been digitized, but they aren't always on the big commercial sites. Always check FamilySearch first. This completely free website is one of the most powerful and often underutilized tools in genealogy. Its catalog is massive and often has digitized microfilm of town records that you can view for free. Many researchers just use its main search, but the real goal is in browsing the catalog for the specific town you're researching. Next, check the website for the town clerk of that specific town. They will often have info about their historical records and where to find them. And finally, don't just sleep on published vital records. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, dedicated genealogists transcribed and published the vital records for hundreds of New England towns, usually up to the year 1850. These 10 books, as they're often called in Massachusetts, are fantastic. You can often find them on sites like Internet Archive or Google Books and subscription sites like an American Ancestors. A simple search for vital records of Springfield, Massachusetts to the year 1850 could unlock a door you thought was locked for good. Number 2, probate records. These are the wills and estates that tell the real story. If vital records are the skeleton of your family tree, then probate records are the flesh and blood. These are the documents that deal with how a person's probate, their property, was distributed after they died. And they often provide the only proof of family relationships. When a person died, their will would be probated or proven in court. The will itself is a treasure chest. It might name the spouse and children, but it could also name grandchildren or in-laws or even siblings. An ancestor might leave a silver spoon to his granddaughter Patience Bartlett, giving you her married name that was otherwise lost. He might mention land adjoining my brother Thomas, which confirms a relationship you could only guess at. But what if your ancestor was a woman or didn't own enough property to write in a will? You're not out of luck. Even people who died interstate, meaning without a will, still have probate files. The court would appoint an administrator, and the file would include an inventory of everything they owned, from land and cows down to the last cracked teacup. This gives you an amazing look into their daily life. More importantly, the estate file will show how the assets were divided among the legal heirs. This document explicitly names the surviving spouse and all the living children, which make it a fantastic substitute for missing birth or marriage records. Finding these records has gotten so much easier, and you don't necessarily need an inexpensive subscription. The New England Historic Genealogical Society's website at AmericanAncestors.org has a massive and growing collection. But a resource many people overlook, as I mentioned, is FamilySearch. This massively free genealogy site has huge collections of digitized probate records for all the New England states. And when you find a probate packet, don't just look at the will, look at every single piece of paper, the receipts, the accounts, the property division. Every page holds a clue. So We're about to get into records that are even older than most town records, but you're already getting some new ideas, I'm sure, for your own research. Take a second to hit that subscribe button. We share practical, actionable tips just like these every week to help you smash through your genealogy brick walls. Number 3, church records. Finding your ancestors in God's house. Long before town halls were consistently keeping vital records, churches, for a lot of the 17th and 18th centuries, the records were often only found in the church. And here you will find information on births, or recorded as baptisms, marriages, and deaths. In early Puritan New England, the church and the town were so intertwined that the church records were basically community records. Community records. Baptismal records are your best friend here. They usually name the child and both parents, plus a date that's typically within a few weeks of the actual birth. This might be your only evidence for a birth date. And it's what connects a child to their parents. Marriage records, which were kept by the local minister, can fill in gaps where the town records are missing. And burial records can give you a death date when no civil record was ever made. But these records give you more than just names and dates. They tell you about your ancestors' life. You might stumble upon records of church discipline where someone was called out for an offense, giving you a very real and human story. You might discover relations of faith, which are personal testimonies that people gave when they wanted to become full church members. Now, these can be incredibly moving, offering a rare peek at your ancestors' own words and beliefs. Membership lists for a church can even help you track a family's migration, as they often note when a person was dismissed to a church in another town, telling you exactly where they went and when. The main church in New England was the Congregational Church, and the Congregational Library and Archives in Boston has an amazing project called New England's Hidden Histories, and they're digitizing thousands of pages of these early church records. Many are free to view online. As other groups like the Baptists, the Quakers, and the Methodists started to appear, their records also become important too. So don't just search for your ancestor's name. Try to figure out which churches existed in their town when they lived there, and then go hunting for the record of that specific congregation. Number 4, land records. Following the trail. Let's be honest, folks. Land records or deeds sound pretty dry and boring, but for solving tough genealogy problems, they are one of the most powerful tools we have. And people might not have left a will, or they might not have gone to church, but if they owned land, they almost certainly left a paper trail. In New England, deeds are recorded at the county registry of deeds. Every time land was bought or sold, a document was filed on the surface. A deed places your ancestor in a specific place at a specific time, but the real magic is in the details. A deed might say the seller is John Smith of Hartford, son and heir of the late James Smith of Hartford, instantly giving you a father-son connection. Or you might see a group of people selling off land described as the children of Sarah Miller deceased, which suddenly gives you a list of siblings and their mother's name. When a man sold land, his wife often had to sign what was called a release of dower to give up her legal claim to the property. This is sometimes the only place you will ever find the wife's first name. Deeds are also fantastic for tracing migrations. When a man sold all of his land in one town, you can bet he was about to move. The deed might even spell it out for you, saying something like, I, John Alden, of Duxbury now, residing in Bridgewater. Telling you exactly where he went. This is also how you can tell men who might have the same name apart, by tracing every land transaction for every John Smith in a county. You can often separate them into two distinct people based on where they lived and who their wives were. While commercial sites do have deed collections, you should never skip checking the free sources on FamilySearch. Like Probate Records, a lot of these old deed books are now digitized and they're available for free in its catalog. You may have to browse them page by page, but you can use the grantor, the seller, and the grantee, who's the buyer, indexes in the front of each volume to make the search a whole lot faster. Number 5, authoritative published works, or what I would call standing on the shoulders of giants. No serious New England researcher can afford to ignore the incredible published works that have been created over the years. These aren't just random family trees somebody posted online. These are scholarly books and journals compiled by the leading experts in the field, with every single fact checked against the original resources. For anyone with ancestors who arrived between 1620 and 1640, the place to start is Robert Charles Anderson's Great Migration Study Project. This series of books is a masterpiece aiming to create a definitive account of every immigrant to New England in that period. It summarizes everything known about them from all the records we've talked about. It's really the gold standard. Another must to have is Clarence Almond Torrey's New England Marriages prior to 1700. Torrey spent his life digging through every record imaginable to create an index of nearly every marriage in New England before the year 1700. And while it's an index, it gives you the couple's names, the date and place of marriage, and most importantly, a list of the sources that Torrey himself used. It's a roadmap that points you right to the original documents. Beyond those, there are journals like the New England Historical and Genealogical Register, published since 1847, which contains thousands of compiled genealogies and articles that solve tough cases. Learning to use these trusted sources, many of which are on sites like AmericanAncestor.org, is like having a team of experts guiding you. They've already done so much of the hard work, saving you from having to reinvent the wheel. So let's bring it all together here, folks. The key is to think local. Go beyond the big databases and find vital records at the town level. Use probate records to discover family relationships you never knew existed. Turn to church records for some of the earliest evidence you can't find. Follow your family's paper trail using land records. And finally, also take advantage of the brilliant work that's already been done by consulting authoritative published works. And remember to leverage powerful free tools like the FamilySearch catalog which is often overlooked. But it holds the key to countless records. For a long time, you may have thought your New England family history was a closed book. You may have hit walls and followed dead ends. The information is there. It's waiting in town halls, church archives, county courthouses, and in the pages of those great genealogical journals. Your New England ancestors, they aren't lost. You just needed a new map. And now you have one. So what's the biggest brick wall you're currently facing in your New England research? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear about the puzzles you're working on. Until next time, this is Eric at Trace Your New England Roots, where history starts with your family.